purposes for me to come here to Oregon and to the Bach Festival is the education aspect, the teaching. Of course, it's also the concerts, it's also the nice people, and sometimes the good weather. But one of the main things is education. Would I be a young person and would want to some master classes in conducting, and there would be a master class offered with the B minor Mass, I would go, just because I would be interested in that piece.
My name's Kimberly Dunn-Adams, and I'm from Philadelphia originally, but I teach at Mount Holyoke College in Massachusetts right now. Well, the B minor Mass is a dream piece. It's what we conductors call our desert island piece. It's the piece where if you were stuck somewhere forever and forever, you would never have to stop studying it because there's always more.
But it is not in the foreground. It is self-understood that this has to come, but the music always remains joyous.
This year specifically, part of the attraction for a lot of us who are here is not merely that it's a wonderful festival and an incredible mentor in Helmuth Rilling, but that it's Helmuth Rilling with the Bach B minor Mass, which I think at least a number of us would say is probably the greatest music ever written.
The level of our masterclass this year was quite high. I think exactly what I just said happened. Young people said, I want to see how that goes. I want to understand and to get as much as I can about that piece.
When I first started conducting, I was a teenager, and I'll never forget the first time I learned a beat pattern. It was actually in front of a choir, and I had that immediate response right away. And when I lifted my hand and they came in, and on every successive beat after that, I could feel the choir's sound in my hand, I just fell in love with it. And sharing beautiful music with people that you admire, respect, and love, I think is one of the most beautiful things out there.
My name is Alejandro Gomez-Guillen. I was born in Colombia, in Bogota. I have admired Rilling's work since I was a boy. I heard the Sanctus for the first time when I was like 10 or something, and I didn't know what it was, what piece it was, what composer or anything. I just remember that so much emotion that it cost me, and it's sort of wonderful that I get to conduct it in a couple of days.
Hello everybody, my name is Patrick Chiu. I came all the way from Hong Kong just for the festival. I'm enjoying myself very much here, and also I love this city of Eugene. Thank you.
We have one conductor coming from Hong Kong. I met him at a masterclass this year in Taipei.
When I was in high school, I was in a chorus, and it made me very happy to share music in front of a group of people. So I started to learn more about music, and then gradually I became a conductor. In March, I participated in the Taipei Bach Festival, where I met Mr. Rilling.
He was very bright, very intelligent, and also very stubborn. He wanted always to know exactly what I said.
He inspired me a lot about his memorization of the scores, and also how he want the music to be very precise.
I think it's difficult to get attention. Can you explain to us how you want the second theme? He was so intrigued by that class in Taipei that he wanted to be here. And then he promised, I will bring Bach to China.
Being here with all of these other musicians and with Helmuth Rilling is an inspiring experience. The musicians here are of an incredibly high level. I mean, they know what they're doing, and so all of us work even harder to keep up. And there's such an atmosphere of mutual admiration and respect that's incredible.
Well, in a masterclass, always you have a starting situation where everybody is cautious and doesn't know how it will go, how critical will that teacher be, will he be nice, will he be very heavy, or this then moves into a better situation. Okay, so very good, yeah. What do you say, instruments? Okay, we like you very much, Sergei. Thank you.
It's really hard not to look back all the time and think, am I doing okay? Did I get that right? Is this the wrong tempo? I don't know. In a performance, you always want to do your best. And conducting in front of him in a performance is that's just humbling, because you know he can get up there and do it way better.
Mr. Rilling has studied this piece so carefully that he has found a lot of things in it that some people might just pass over, thinking that's just some more notes that are part of this movement. And Mr. Rilling has kind of seen their deeper significance in a way that goes beyond the music.
The attitude with which he approaches music is very much based on what the composer has to say, and finding those answers first. Is never about having to impose as a conductor something on the music.
Conductors, if you look at this closely, you see that Bach always chooses cantatas which explain the mass text. So it's not just a technical thing that there is original music which had a different text, but the text explains the mass movements.
And then once he has made those decisions, then he can stick with them and make incredible, spontaneous music.
A base for all our work in the masterclass is analysis. That is, one has to thoroughly understand the structure of a piece, because this tells you what Bach, the composer, had in mind. So that's the first thing. And I always ask them, they know already this question will be coming, what is the structure? Sergei, can you explain to me the structure of the piece? But this is not a technical way, but I think it's the key to understand the music.
We learn about the pieces ahead of time in our classes. I mean, we've all studied them coming in. I read 3 books on the B minor Mass to prepare for this, and which is nothing. Some people read 5, 7, 12, I don't know. And we still discover more things when he's teaching, because he makes the pieces tell a story. So he teaches the motives and the harmonies and the rhythms and how the pieces are put together, and then he relates it to things that every person can understand without it necessarily being specifically musical jargon.
Of course, we don't know how Bach would have performed that piece, but in the structure of a piece, in its architecture, in its forming of motifs, in its counterpoint, we can see pretty much of Bach's thoughts. And it was always very interesting in conducting class to discuss these things with them. Michael, what does this canon mean?
He has a very deep theological understanding of this music, which is absolutely appropriate because Bach has put all of that into his music. And so he'll ask a lot of questions. What does this represent? How does it relate to the text?
Bach's idea is, of course, the Son sits at the right of the Father. But later on the text says, he is the same as the Father. So these are theological things.
The text in that aria has to do with the fact that Christ sits at the right hand of the Father. And there's an interplay in that movement between the oboe d'amore and the alto soloist.
Coming out of the Father, being the same as the Father. I think exactly this, da 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 da, the Son
comes out.
Da 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 da. And then they become the same, that is, they become unison. Okay? This is the idea. Huh? It's a very special idea. Have them being the same but apart, then come together, be the same. Yeah? Okay.
So it's fascinating to talk with him about that in class and his understanding of how Bach conveys these rather difficult concepts or even mysteries in musical terms, and then to try to realize that as a component of your musical performance of the piece, because of course it's not just notes on the page. There's also a deep spirituality to this music.
In his class, he always talks about why Bach wrote that and the symbolism behind the music. And that is the inspiration on how we should interpret the music, including the tempo or dynamics or the articulations. So I conducted the crucifixus in the credo movement, and the structure is based on a lamento bass, a passacaglia structure that the bass line keep repeating. And also the phrase crucifixus in the choir keep repeating. And he mentioned that this is a very important faith for every Christian to remember the crucifixus.
You see, during the whole piece, during the whole Mass, and also during the Creed, so far, Bach has avoided to repeat words. And here, you hear him always repeating crucifixus. So he wants to say, this is the center of Christian faith, that this man, Jesus, the second person of God, was crucified. And he meditates that it goes always on and always on the main lamenting bass.
This I have never thought before. I thought it was just some kind of counterpoint and compositional technique, but there actually has a meaning about it. I think I have to know more about Bach, not just the B minor Mass, but all other pieces, so that I can have my own style of how to interpret Bach's music.
I think it's very important that everyone develops own skills and especially own thoughts, own ideas, and then pursue them in the preparation, but also in rehearsals and performance.
When he stopped us, that means he wanted to discuss something with us, or we have done something not very well. Sometimes I started the tempo too fast or too slow, so he stopped me and explained to me why we need another tempo.
Now, Patrick, now we are back to a slow tempo. Is this your intention?
No. I want a fast tempo.
Yeah. I think it's difficult to get tension. Can you explain to us how you want the second theme, Propter Magnum?
That is the time we can learn directly from him, so I would like him to stop me more.
It's very important. Conducting you cannot teach in a general way. I mean, you can teach basics, conducting techniques in a general way. But then if it comes to the real thing, you can't. You have to look at the specific person and help him or her.
One of the things we talked about in class was what way to conduct this movement. It's tricky because it falls on a tempo which could be either in 2 or in 6. And I've actually conducted the piece, and I had done it in 2, and he feels strongly that it should be in 6.
Michael, I think it would be better to conduct in 6.
Oh, do it in 6?
Yeah. Sure. The beginning perhaps would work where the oboe plays alone. Yeah? Mm-hmm. But then at the place where she comes in, we have these canons between the oboe and the voice, or the voice and the oboe. You have no control. Mm-hmm. If they are very good, it will be together. Yeah. If they are not so good, you cannot help them. Yeah? So I think it's better to be in 6.
This is a situation where you will do that because not only are we here to learn, but he has a long experience with the piece.
How would you explain how this works? You see, if I are in a situation where I have to do an interpretation, I do not start with thinking, what do I want to do, but what are the facts? What do I see in front of me? Now, this is my question now. Describe, analyze the theme.
So it has several components starting.
I've seen all of them, I can say, improve and being more themselves, because every conductor is quite different. Yeah? It's not just conductors, it's always one person with personal background, not only musical, but also in regards to his family, his country, his education. And you have to go from there and help every person sitting there or standing there conducting to help him to get better for his or her personality.
I was conducting the Et Resurrectit, which for me was an incredibly difficult piece to conduct. because it's very athletic, it's very powerful. It's an intense piece, but it's busy and it's light and it's articulate. It's so many things at once that you're not quite sure where you want to go. And so I struggled with this piece a lot. I struggled with cues and entries, the general atmosphere.
I think, given the character of the music, I think it's beautiful. This sort of a dancing.
I went back to my dorm room and spent the whole night looking at the score and trying to imagine the things that he'd taught me and incorporating them. And I hit a wall. I didn't feel that I was going to be capable of doing it. And this afternoon when I came in, I felt that I had maybe gone 5% closer. And Helmut came up and told me to focus my energy on the entrances, specifically the moment right before the choir enters. And I thought I was being intense and commanding, and he would get up and demonstrate how to do it.
Ideal would be to do this together with your left hand. The left hand gives that.
And all of a sudden I would see that I wasn't actually being commanding at all. So what he had mentioned was actually a technical issue dealing with rebound and rebounding far enough away from the beat that you can get to the next one with a good amount of speed and power and energy.
Yeah? You got it?
Okay.
That is the strongest way to do it.
Okay. And in turn, that inspires the singers to just go, and the instrumentalists, and they just go, and you end up actually having to do less. You get more with less. All of a sudden, in that very first beginning of the piece, when I did it, I felt it. And that's one of the joys of conducting, is that when you get it right, you feel it.
It was amazing to, in a way, witness my transformation from last year. The things that I've been able to take back from last year, use through the year, and now put them back to the test. These people here are so amazing that they don't depend on you in the least. But for me to have this opportunity to share with them, really, it's what it comes down to. That I'm not just making it happen, but I'm being given an opportunity to do it with them.
It's always interesting to see a piece when other conductors, even the young ones, do it, because they take different tempos, they have different ideas, and the discussion with them, how it should be, what are the reasons behind a given tempo or given dynamics, given articulation, why do you do that? Why do you want to shape a piece in this way? This always, for me personally, is interesting. And sometimes I think, why not?
Alejandro, very good. What do you think about what you hear?
I think the Discovery Series is a very special aspect to the festival because it's rare that you would get a chance to have someone lecture on the music and then turn around and demonstrate with the exact performing forces what they've just been talking about. You could go to a lecture that would just be a pre-concert lecture and they'd talk or play a recording, or you could read program notes. But to have Mr. Rilling there explaining everything and then turning around and saying, okay, now we'll hear it on the violins, or now we'll hear this in the chorus.
And you hear now the 5 choirs singing to each other. 2 vocal choirs, 3-part, 3 instrumental choirs, 3-part, and underneath you hear the majestic and trembling rhythm of the timpani. And Bach decided to take this piece for the Mass, a piece which he had written in 1724.
I think that is a unique aspect of this festival, and I think it's a great opportunity for the audience to go more deeply into the music.
Well, you know, it's amazing because we have had some of the ideas that he will develop in the lectures. We supposedly know them, and he discusses them with us in our previous classes. But in the lecture itself, I always have my score open because I know I'm still gonna get a lot more from it. And I think everybody has that feeling that no matter how much we think we know the piece or aspects within the piece, there's always more layers that you can go deeper into.
The interesting thing is that at that fermata, when she sings Agnus Dei Miserere Nobis, the continuo instruments have, of course, as always, note underneath which supports the chord. This time this note is an F sharp. F sharp means that in front of that F is a cross. So the Lamb of God hangs at the cross and bears our sins. So this is the reason for the reflection.
It's very informative in the lecture. Sometimes in the class, because we don't have a lot of time and because we have 12 conductors, so the time is very limited. But in the lecture, he can speak very slowly and clearly about the piece. And even when I'm going to conduct and I was on stage, I took out my pencil and marked something new in the score.
It's amazing to see the wit and the fluidity with which he delivers these things, also from memory, as if it were a musical piece in itself. The talking into the musical examples, back to the talking, it's a whole conception in itself. So it's just amazing.
And the final cadence, Bach makes in a very special way. The four last notes which the violins play form a cross. So again, there we have the cross sign.
And for us, it's also special because when he conducts the examples, we get to see for that one moment how he would conduct it. And of course, this is very special too, to see him working with these musicians who have worked with him for years, or working with, in the case of a violinist and violist, his two daughters. And it's special to see that connection between them there and between him and the music and all the musicians.
He has a unique ability to make it seem, it's so hard to put this into words, but to make it seem like he is making it happen for the first time, yet give you enough security as if this had always been. He's truly unique. I think we all know that, and I think we all kind of find ourselves at a loss for words sometimes.
Truthfully, I believe that the highlight of the class is something I'm not going to understand until a few months from now and a few years from now. And years from now, I'm going to look back and understand how this class made me a better conductor and a better person.
Well, I think it's, at least for me, it's very important to give my experience, my knowledge to another generation. These are young and promising people, and they have to go on with that wonderful music, as I did, coming from my predecessors.
Conductor, it's great you came here to this masterclass, and it was a joy for me to working with you on this masterpiece and exchange thoughts. I thank you for being here. Why don't you stand?